Here we go.
Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order. Eric, do we want a before roll call?
No, that's why on the agenda, since we have a new, well, I think as an order of business, we have to officially remove the
Right.
former member. So Donna Kopacki, so she's missed 4 in a row, and so by the authority of the commission, voting members would vote on removing her from the board, and then therefore, then you can read the roll as she was
Right.
appointed and approved by council.
And she also, sent that email out saying she was
Yes.
happy and willing to step down.
Yes,
So,
but just to cover everyone's bases, let's just,
right. So is there a motion to remove Donna Kopecki from the commission?
someone just have to say.
Second?
So moved. Second. What am I doing? Sorry, I was not paying
So,
attention.
so moved, and then second.
Second.
Second, okay.
Yep.
So in
All in
favor,
favor?
say aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed?
And then,
Does anybody
Alright,
opposed?
motion passes.
yes,
Okay.
Okay,
welcome.
so with that, we'll welcome our new member.
She does have her email address and everything now, so we'll make sure everybody gets that so she can be included in everything.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and start with the roll.
And our new member is?
Terry?
Terry.
O'Connor.
Am I, do I not get
Yeah,
it?
yeah, we'll do roll call here.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We don't, she don't have permission to come.
Two hours in a row.
Roll call?
What? Oh. Lisa Craddock
Are you
got up
here?
here? I am.
Eric Fisher is here.
Yes.
And then Tiffany Hughes is here.
John Pastor is here.
Cliff McCronn's here.
Terry O'Connor's here.
Brady Ochsner's here, and then, both Eddie and Councilman Wolf are excused.
Yes.
I got emails from both of them.
Yes.
They're both, I guess, traveling for work right now. So, moving on to approval of the minutes. Thank you again for great minutes.
You're welcome.
Is there a second to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any objection? Minutes are approved. Right into village planning, so, we've got the rules recommendations. I sent out the most recent draft.
Is that what he's printing?
I think Eric's, if he's printing them now, we can hold on a minute until we've got them. For anybody who did take a look at the most recent draft, does anybody have objections or comments, or before we get them in front of us even? The changes basically that were made between the previous draft and this one were to make sure that all of our language was correct in referring to ourselves as a commission as opposed to a board. Some kind of basic cleanup stuff. The one thing, there is a rule that was removed. It happens to be the one rule that we currently have, that we passed, that turns out is unnecessary because in 2020, council passed an ordinance that basically does what our rule would do. It just never actually got filed with the folks online who,
Correct. They only have
who
gone
update the
through
website.
2019, and we are working on 2020 through end of 2021 to get those codified.
so the rule that we were looking to pass that says any permit application submitted to the village that
Thank
meets
you.
all code requirements on the face may be reviewed and issued by village administration is not necessary because code actually basically says that. So, I mean, if folks would be more comfortable walking through things quickly, on the rules that we're looking at. The first section is just on our own internal rules. That we will look at these annually, and that we can, make changes on the fly if we have to. Section 2 has to deal with how we will run our regular meetings. With a note that, materials will be distributed at least 24 hours in advance, which adheres to, matches us up with state sunshine laws. We're gonna defer to the rules adopted by council when we're not sure what to do. We're gonna give residents 2 minutes, at regular meetings
to address specific items that are on our agenda. So, you know, for example, if you're looking at today's agenda, folks would be able to address the rules recommendations, the tree planting update, and the code rewrite introduction. And then additional questions can be asked that don't count toward the 2 minutes. Anybody saying mean things can be asked to leave. And then the chair will do his best or her best to keep everything in order and things moving smoothly. Section 3 has to do with our variance meetings. Some of this might change as the code is updated and rewritten, but it basically spells out a nice orderly open process that we can have for when we're actually doing variances. Section 4 creates the role of a secretary. And then section 5 addresses work sessions and how they're treated just a little bit differently than regular meetings. So that's kind of what we had discussed and fleshed out. Obviously, any new rules can come at any time. And anything can be amended, removed, and suspended if we realize it's not working. So I think this is probably a good base document. If nobody has any thoughts or objections, I would entertain a motion to adopt these rules.
I had a question about, on item, section 2, item D. The 2 minutes to address specific items, because I know we went back and forth quite a bit on the last go around. So is that per agenda item, or is that for all of the items on the agenda?
Per agenda item.
Okay. And is that at a specific time during the
That's
meeting?
what I was getting at, exactly. So I guess here's my question, we're talking about rules recommendations right now. Would we have allowed them to ask questions? So are you gonna stop at the end of rule recommend, cause a lot of times we kind of go in circles. But at the end of rule recommendation, are you going to say, okay, does anybody in the audience have any questions for rule recommendation?
My intention would be to allow that at the start of that agenda item. So now we're going to discuss rules recommendations. Would anybody
Okay.
outside the commission like to
Address it,
address it?
okay.
And then when we say, okay, we're all done with this, we're moving on to the tree update, is there anybody in the audience who would like to address that?
Okay,
I feel like that's, you know, as opposed to somebody saying something about 15 things at the beginning of the meeting, and then we've forgotten about them, or they're not front of mind by the time we get, you know, to the items. And then I also think if we're going to, especially if we're gonna vote on something, to have our discussion, take a vote, and then say, oh, by the way, did anybody wanna say anything about it?
Okay.
I feel like it's the best way to, you know, to take in the new information and then be able to discuss it. Is that reasonable, make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Thoughts?
Yeah,
Happy?
understandable.
Okay. Again, I'm happy to entertain a motion to adopt these minutes, if anybody would like to make such a motion.
I'll motion to
Thank you.
the meeting minutes.
I'll second them, and, Mayor, could you call the roll for a vote? There's all 3 of us, you can.
Yeah, just 3 people.
okay, I don't even know,
Just
okay,
Beth and you
Beth,
and
me, and-
him, yeah, over there.
okay.
Is-
Brady Oxender,
Aye.
Beth McFarland,
Aye.
and then Tiffany Hughes, aye. That was way too easy, I'm like, wait, who are my voting members here?
Yeah, I guess since the secretary is also a voting member, this doesn't matter. I was gonna suggest a non-voting member could keep track of the roles easier as an additional duty.
But we just voted, and
I
now we
know,
have a
I know,
secretary
yes.
who we've
I know,
already
I
nominated.
know. Oh, good. No, I mean, she's secretary, I'm just saying during the meeting for me,
Right.
yeah. But this is what it is.
I do have a question. Can I
Yeah.
make motion if I can't vote?
No, you cannot, so.
I just sit here
Good
and be
answer,
quiet.
cause I guess that's why I'm like, why isn't
I didn't-
anybody else saying anything?
I didn't
Why
think
is it-
so,
No,
but figured I better check.
Voting members have to make the motions and the seconds and
Okay.
the votes at the end of the
Because
day.
Eddie's not here and Brian's not here right now.
Yeah.
So non-voting is just like.
Advisors we're allowed to do without a charter, so we have to follow the state
We do the
rules.
grunt work.
So,
Yeah, you guys,
Yeah.
yeah, you
We
guys,
listen, right?
Yeah.
no, you
Yeah,
guys get
the-
plenty of
Yeah, discussion.
Offer
discussion.
advice,
Yeah.
okay, or.
Yeah,
Just
state
can't-
law basically spells out if you are a city, village, township, whatever, they spell out what your planning and zoning commission looks like. And so they've spelled out the number of members we're allowed to have.
Who those members are.
And yeah, specifically that one is the mayor and one is the, one is a member of council. And then that you've got 3 at-large members. The only way for us to get more opinions and input is to skirt that by having non-voting members, so that the actual commission remains those 5 voting members.
I see.
So I would say, you are here to speak up. And if you have problems, you know, with what we're doing, stamp your feet.
Sure. Still absorbing, so yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to a tree planting update. Lisa, how's things going?
Oh, now
Do
I
you have
get to
anybody-
speak. So, the trees, I'm picking them up tomorrow. I'm actually picking them up.
Okay.
'Cause I had a client move a little later, so I can do it. Diane Shrimp very kindly offered to help. She's a much better organizer than I. So she's got a volunteer list on, I'm not even sure where it is, Facebook, probably websites. We both saw Chipper's map out on a shed, and so she did a little copy of it so we can more clearly let people know where all the flags are. So we've got the flags out, we've got sections made, she's put up signs, so we'll say this is section 1, these trees go in section 1. You know, I don't think we're gonna have so many volunteers. You know, ideally it'd be nice to have a volunteer in each section, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So hopefully it's efficient enough that it'll go smoothly. Time to start,
How many trees are we've got 2 pickup dates,
yeah,
right?
so 300 tomorrow
Okay,
and 90 trees and shrubs. 90 the next Thursday or Friday. We have dates, this Friday and Saturday from 2 to 4, and we also stuck a 10 to 12 on Saturday, which doesn't seem to be very popular. I don't think I thought people would like it, you know, earlier, but I guess not. And then the next Friday and Saturday, same 2 to 4. We are, again, Diane's idea, let's put some buckets out with water, so we'll have the water there, we'll have mulch, which I need to talk to you about. You know, people are supposed to bring shovels and tools and things like that, but the things that we need to have there should be ready, instead of just carrying everything on the Ranger, which is not that big. We will be looking for people to water them once they're in. Hopefully we'll get people to, or, you know, kind of keep an eye on them. Maybe.
Adopt a tree.
Adopt a tree, or 20
Or
20 trees.
Adopt an area.
Yeah, exactly, a section, yeah. I did, before I started putting the flags out, I kind of went around to see how the ones from last year looked, and I feel like, if I'm correct, they're not leaving out yet, but the ones that seem to be in the ground and good, or it was a pretty good percentage. So, yeah, we've got 6 different kinds of trees and shrubs, 9 different kinds. I think that's it.
If only we had like some Boy Scouts or Eagle Scouts kind of groups that could help coordinate some kind of help with planting.
That'd be really great. Some guys.
Watering and
Some
some.
water.
You're gonna regret
digging.
this, aren't you?
It'd be a nice, well, I don't know if it'd be an Eagle Scout project, but
Probably.
somehow you could gear it. So I think that's pretty much it. Well, I might as, so the plan was from Green Columbus, they were offering mulch and tools and things like that, and I asked for mulch, but somehow they didn't get it, so I don't think we're getting it. Is that something Brian can go purchase and deliver them to the spots? Okay.
You just need to let me know how much and all that, and I'll have to either get a PO, we put it on the credit, I just need to know approximately either how much it is to give to Leah to do.
Okay, I'm letting you know that, or Brian?
Honestly, either one, cause Brian will come straight to us and tell us how much it is and how much we need.
Okay.
So, yeah, either one. Send it to carbon copy, but yeah.
So can I just ask him to pick them up and he gets to whoever with the amount, so I don't have to?
We're just gonna need to know how many bags or whatever we're getting, I'm assuming at this point, we're gonna get bags and not a
Yeah.
truckload, yeah.
I think so. Well, then we can set them out at, with each section, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, just let them know exactly what it's gonna be and we'll get it from Leah.
okay. Oh, I should say too, the master gardeners, we've got residents helping, we've got master gardeners coming, so.
Are we gonna have leftovers like we did last time?
You mean the trees?
There was leftovers left?
I thought we talked about giving them to residents. and
That, well,
'Cause,
we did,
somebody
but,
ran over all of mine last year, if you remember that, nobody's ever cut the backyard, and somebody took it upon themselves to cut the hill on my backyard, they've never done it since, and they did it the week after.
somebody that lived in your house,
No. No idea who did it, seriously.
some random person.
Like, I don't know if the church guy got lost, like that does the church, or like what, because he only did it once and it was the week after we planted them, like I seriously, it like.
You gotta have flags up, that's why I leave flags with all of them. Well,
Well, I
so
thought
they
that a
can find
tree
us.
Well,
sitting
some-
there would have been.
Some of those flags get
They think it's a big weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the playground, I put all the flags in the playground, and when we
They're
were
gone.
going through to find the sections, somebody had pulled probably all but one or two.
I don't understand.
I've seen some in the stream, like
I'm sure.
the reserve.
Great. So we might have some left over.
So if you have
we-
some left over, but it needs to be something that would do well around water. It's only,
Okay.
I only want water ones, cause that's my backyard,
Yeah.
is water, so. So if you have any left over in the backyard, I personally, I don't know if anybody else has any, but I only want what's left over.
I guess that was the plan initially, but I actually found spots for
Use them there.
pretty much. I mean, I have some that'll go like maybe a few other places, but yeah, they're pretty much.
Good. Good.
No, I can back off of that.
No,
Yeah.
that's first priority. I'm second priority.
Back to the mulch though, you mentioned the bags versus bulk. Don't you typically get a discount with bulk versus bag?
Bulk is definitely less expensive.
But the problem is, the issue that we're gonna have is getting it back into the sites with just one
don't-
person
I got
and
We don't have a
one.
Bobcat is the problem, to just
Yeah.
haul stuff back. and
Got it,
forth,
understood.
back
I
and
just
forth,
wanted
yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay.
We get the shaft on that.
Can
Maybe
you
next
take
year.
the truck on those paths? Is the truck too
The
wide?
truck,
Too wide on
yeah,
some of
the
it.
snake foot path,
Oh, it shouldn't be.
typically people, ride on those, I mean, it's capable of handling the weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it can be done. A lot of villages and municipalities do it that way to get back in their park areas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an emergency, I think we would, but other than that, I think
Yeah.
some people would frown on it.
Well, and I think probably even half a yard might be too much. I'm not really I was thinking maybe 20 bags, because really, these things are small. Well,
Little.
I haven't seen them yet, but last year the bulk of them were maybe, 6 inches, the hole was that big. So I'm just thinking a little mulch to, maybe help retain water and kind of mark it, keep the, suppress weeds. So, I'm not
If you
sure.
guys have extra mulch, you can always send it my way.
I know.
I mean,
Well,
I'm
that's
good
true,
with
yeah.
We are all a bunch of needy people, so just let us know whatever's left over.
Well, I could just order a bunch of stuff and give it away. Of course, the mulch the village has to pay for it.
Yeah,
Free
we can't,
trees or
we
something
can't do
else.
that, but free trees, we're in. Next time you order some, we're in.
I will say too that Green Columbus they also offer perennial plants. This year one year I got like 8 flats, 8 different plants, 32 of each. This year I think I'm getting 2. But she wants those to go to the residents, so I'll be, I don't know, putting that on Facebook or something. This year they're not meant to be planted in the village, it's for residents, so if you want, I think I'm getting butterfly weed and maybe coreopsis, landscape coreopsis.
Can we, after you plant a tree and mulch it, can you take a picture of it and can we get it posted on the village page to
I like
say,
that.
when you see these,
Leave them alone.
leave them alone.
Yeah.
This is what they look like and they're not for stepping on and
They'll get
pulling
bigger.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, cause if somebody's attracted to the flags, they're gonna know where they are. If the flags weren't there, they probably wouldn't see them. They're small. And we should share that with the deer too, cause they'll probably be,
Yep.
but yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, just, I figure a quick Facebook post to give them the best chance we
I
can.
can put a notice in my yard to the deer, I have like.
Have them come to your yard?
There's so
There's like
many right
9.
now.
They come probably through my yard over to Jordan, because
Yeah.
there's like,
I've seen a lot the last few days.
Yeah.
There's 4 babies
Oh,
that are running around together.
that seems.
I haven't seen them yet.
Limpy and his friends.
I think that's it,
Thank you.
unless anybody
And
has
again, thanks
questions.
for all your, is this, has our attempted help in coordination helped at all? Is this an easier process at all than last year, or is it the same pulling teeth?
We'll see if people show up.
Yeah,
That's-
it's-
that's
I'd
the
say
key.
Diane and my master gardener, master gardener's taking care of the volunteering for the master gardeners, and Diane's pretty much
Okay,
taken care of. But, yeah, I mean, then you just need people to come.
yeah.
So, we'll see. I mean, I think we've got maybe 6 people scheduled on Friday, and that's our biggest day.
Okay.
So, we might have a lot of trees left over. I can't get them in the ground.
No, anything that can stay in water. Don't even waste your time with something that doesn't do well
Water
in
tolerant.
Water tolerant,
Water loving.
water
Did
loving.
not get any, I know we didn't order any water loving trees.
Actually, Buttonbush really like water,
Oh, well,
so,
there you go, that's what you're
So,
getting.
yeah.
any of those that you have left over, let me know.
Okay.
And then just come over my way, plant some, we'll just call it a day. Just kidding.
No, I won't do that.
Come on.
Thank you, though.
I don't get any perks, man. Just teasing you, totally teasing. No, yeah.
Anything left to say on tree planting?
Thank you for all of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the code rewrite introduction. Eric, would you like to explain what's going on and what
Sure.
what the participatory role will be for us?
Absolutely. So, the village council, a number of weeks back, went ahead and approved a proposal from our legal counsel, Frost Brown Todd, to assist us in an in-depth project of reviewing chapter 12 and chapter 14 of our codified ordinances. As we are all well aware at this table, most of our code is dated, and over the years, the various bodies have attempted to update it and piecemeal it, and it's become a little bit of a mess, as is normal in these cases. So at this stage, last couple of weeks, our attorney has engaged a small group for technical review. So myself, the zoning officer, the attorney, Brady, and Brian Wolf have had a couple long meetings, and we'll probably have at least one more. And then at that point, this is basically a stage at which we're going through the code, pointing out what likely is to be eliminated, where we need the attorney to provide guidance. So modernized language, there's plenty of examples of it out there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel in any particular section. Things are just 30 plus years old at this point, depending on what section of the code. And there's new case law, and many villages and cities have already adopted code or definitions really is additionally that we're lacking, that can be incorporated. All of the comments and all of the track changes will be there for everyone to see, and so the intent is at the first meeting in May, that track document will be presented to the body for the beginning of the review. We'll actually probably get it to you a week early so you have time, because it's going to be a voluminous set regardless, even though our code's not as thick as some, say Dublin and Columbus, it's still a fun read. So, especially when you have to consider this, it's okay.
So, yeah, so it's
Facetious.
like what's gonna come before us is the section that sets up planning and zoning. And then a bunch of zoning stuff. It's like 300 pages. But there's stuff about like a building inspector, right?
Yeah, things that have no application anymore.
It's not a thing anymore that the village has anything to do with, so that's just like lopping out pages.
Gotcha.
So it's not really exciting or fun, but there is some room for us to help make recommendations. Again, that's what this body basically does, to make recommendations up to council on ways that permitting, that variances, that zoning, could be made more, just more efficient and updated if we have thoughts on things that we don't think work, that could be working better. This is a good time for us to make a case to council.
There will be a number of details that only the community as a whole can decide. Staff and the attorney can only provide, the skeleton, the outline, and the proper legal terms and definitions that, assist the community in the process. But there are details such as home occupations, what do you want, what do you not want? Trees, what do you want, what do you not want? All these little things that are important to a community, you know, that you will have to review in detail and make a recommendation to council. No doubt they, as the deciding body, will also have an opinion about things, so. But those are quite important, so that's perhaps the most important aspect of your job, is to go through it in detail to make a recommendation. I would say, you know, in all likelihood, the majority of codes, you know, when they come to council, if the body here, the P and Z or whoever else, whatever other committee is doing a review in whatever municipality, the council appreciates that particular hard line of work, because that saves them a lot of trial and tribulation, you know. So you will have probably the majority of say in those particular details.
Okay.
So not the most fun work, but meaningful.
A lot of, yeah.
And the nice thing is that, you know, Eric and I have been going line by line. And it's easy to rabbit hole yourself and read the same sentence 15 times and realize that you knew what it meant the first time you read it, and now you have no idea what it means.
You're like second guessing it.
Yeah, like too many words in a sentence, right? So trying to fix some of that and clean it up so that it reads for the community. But saying that, you know, these 300 pages, you won't have to read all 300 of them if you don't want to, because the attorney will have marked out where we are thinking changes would be valuable. And hopefully it won't be a full 300
No,
pages
it
by the
should
time we get through
He
it.
has to add some language, you know, I mean, things are taken out and perhaps more succinct modern language is put in its place.
Right.
And then that gets wordsmithed, and then, you know, those comments can go back to the attorney. There'll be turns essentially on the document between the body and the attorney, because he'll have to, you know, you may want something changed, the attorney may look at it and go, they ain't gonna pass muster, and then it has to stay this way. So you expect to see some of that, but there may be a better way to say certain things, right?
Yep. And so the work we've done on sign code and things like that will hopefully be already taken under recommendation and things like that. So that's some fun work we got coming down the line.
When is that sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
when is that expected to be, I mean, is that,
You expect to see it at May 4th, you'll see the first turn of your chance of the document.
But my hope is that we'll get it,
Oh,
we'll get to
as far as
see
us,
it
yeah.
in advance. And the
Yes.
first time
Yeah, I would
we'll
say-
all sit down and start talking about it
Yeah,
will be May
I'd say
4th.
we're gonna try to get it to you a week before.
okay.
So you have a chance at least to peruse it, and, you know, you'll have to take it, it's one of those things, it's taken us 2 4-hour meetings. I expect another, 4 hours in total, I expect another 2-hour meeting. And then staff may meet in between P and Z meetings to work it out, you know, depending on what the recommendations. So there's gonna be multi-month turn process between groups, before it's ever ready when to go up to council.
It was a lot of back and forth when I was here on,
It's a lot of,
yeah, with the attorney.
it's a lot
Yeah,
of
it was-
detail.
It was a lot of detail, it was a lot of, I'm glad I'm not sitting in there.
And so, yeah, and so we'll, you
That was
know,
them and not me.
once a full draft, you know, first draft is ready, we'll send it out and then we'll figure out how to eat the elephant. So we'll say, you know, at this next meeting, we're just gonna try and do this chunk of it. And then we can actually, you know, everybody can read the whole thing and then focus on that chunk, or just focus on that chunk, and we'll make sure that, you know.
I would expect a couple of work sessions
Yeah.
in between that'll be dedicated just to that purpose, at least an hour, you know, and that way you can have a small turn at the business meeting in the beginning, a larger one at the end, and that'll give time in between for the other groups, the attorney to make small bits of it, to make recommendations back and forth, so,
Okay.
So fun stuff coming up.
yeah.
When you send over, this is not completely with this, but just make sure that Barb is fully aware of when we do, cause typically I just do planning and zoning. Make sure she's fully aware whether it's a work session or,
Business.
an actual business meeting.
Yeah.
So that way it can be put on the calendar correctly. And I'll make sure that I go over that, cause I wanna make sure everybody knows what we're doing.
Yep.
So are we just doing chapters 12 and 14?
Correct,
Just, or
that encompasses,
just us?
that encompasses the zoning code.
Okay.
Is
But the whole
the
entire code
code
is not being
rewrite
No, there's
more
not,
than that, or is it just those 2 sections?
those are the 2 primary sections. There are little bits and pieces in different areas. For instance, the grass is in section 6, okay, chapter 6. But that's a more modern piece of code, you know, that was adopted 17 or 18.
So as far as what the council is going to review.
Yes, it's primarily gonna be 12 and 14.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. We will move on. Two pieces of new business. I'll put one there. Welcome, Terry. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, enjoy and actually be able to talk.
You should just sit here and talk for 30 minutes, just be like, I have been here so many times, I just deserve to be able to like talk about anything right now.
Terry, what's your last name?
O'Connor.
Is it T or I?
2 R's and an I for Terry.
Okay.
And O'Connor, O-C-O, and then O-R.
So
And
email
or.
T O'Connor.
T O'Connor,
And your address, your email?
T O'Connor at
Minerva Park.
Minerva Park.
Okay, no, do you apostrophe?
For the email?
The apostrophe does not have an
No,
it's
Don't
not.
do it,
no,
okay.
don't do that.
TOCONNOR
Yes.
at, okay. MP
Minerva
dot org.
Park dot org.
MinervaPark.org. I should know that, right? Park, okay.
Depends on how long your day's been.
It's been long
Yeah, same.
and interesting.
The other piece of business is just, that we will, it looks like, have a
Yes.
variance at our
Have a
May
variance
meeting.
on the 4th to review. It'll be for a new house on a currently vacant lot there at the corner of Wildwood and Cardinal.
Okay.
There are issues with, of course, the small plot.
Oh, yeah.
And in that particular case, there's weird building setback lines due to it being on the corner. Considered for recommendation of the council.
And we'll get all of that information as soon as it's officially
Yes.
submitted. So yeah, and then the nice thing is that we now have rules on how we handle variance meetings, and we will follow them and make sure that it's a nice, open, transparent process that we will recommend up to council.
You said, what was the intersection again, Wildwood and?
Wildwood and Cardinal,
Cardinal.
Cardinal Court, I think. Yeah, some vacant lots sitting there. We have a few vacant lots left. We got a call today where, people that own lots in joint now, of course, are interested in selling off those lots. So we'll see a few more of those, I'm sure, as time goes on, depending when they come in, right? I assume in this environment they can sell quick. But obviously, if they come in next year, we should have a new zoning code that makes most of that non-variance needed because they're no longer non-conforming. Which will be part of the consideration, by the way, new zoning map and zoning districts be part of this consideration.
Any other new business? Any old business?
Legislation is final reading Thursday for the amphitheater thing? Or did
Oh,
we
yes,
do that?
no,
I think it's there.
is it third? Okay, I've lost track,
Pretty sure.
there's so much going on.
So that should be
Yeah,
Awesome.
done this week.
Have they decided how to do it or what to do?
The amphitheater, this is for, I'll let Brady say, this is the, go ahead.
well, this is for
Legislation
the legislation that makes it kosher with the state. So we have to have a committal by our council, right, that they will commit to,
Financially.
yes.
So yeah, we have up to $100,000 sitting, which we did get, just for this knowledge, we did get reappropriated, so the clock was gonna run out on us at the end of June. We've got it technically for another 2 years. But we've got up to $100,000 to spend if we're willing to spend up to $50,000. And so we have to
It's a reimbursement.
pass an ordinance to show we're willing to,
Okay.
to put up our local match
Yes,
in order to actually finish the application
yeah.
to
Otherwise,
to get the project approved, so that we can then pay for it and then get reimbursed. So it's a fun process, so that they haven't actually, council has not actually decided what to do, but they're getting ready to have their third hearing to approve to do something,
Right,
to
funds,
move
right.
forward with an amphitheater.
Sorry,
I was just gonna say, so the total project could be up to 150,000, right? The match plus the 100,000.
Yes.
Right, okay.
If,
Not that it would
yes,
be, but-
if that's the way the council chose to go, yes.
Okay.
can you tell if it looks like they're going with it? Is there
I'm sorry.
some sense from the discussion if they're
I haven't, I don't think
I have
that,
no thought that they're not gonna approve this part to it, exactly what they're gonna end up doing, I don't think we're,
Yeah, it's not gonna be a complicated project.
no, I
So,
think it's gonna be pretty
they're all-
straightforward.
So far,
Yeah.
everybody seems to be on board with what's been kind of
yeah,
proposed.
I think in concept, they're
Yeah.
gonna hammer out the details, I think we would have a hard time spending $150,000
Yeah, I think,
down there unless we
it's gonna be somewhere
decide
between
to
85
really
and
gild the
100.
lily, and I don't know that anybody, you know, being that a third of that money is ours, I think folks are trying to be as, I hope anyway, that was our recommendation, right, that we be
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, looking at the minutes, we were at 75,000, just under 75,000 for the total estimate.
Yeah,
So if you
Oh.
figure that,
we added some contingency and we have to add in a little final calculation for a little ADA, and so I
Right,
think we
which
got
means
it
on-
pegged about 85.
yeah, so on the back half of it, we're at $30,000 for the, to have a fully functioning amphitheater for $30,000, I
Pretty
think is a
good.
pretty good deal. And then just so you guys know, we have submitted, officially, the deadline is over. But we won't hear back probably for another month. We have made another request for capital funds, for $500,000 for trail improvements. And so that is an overly broad request.
Wait, who's we?
The village.
The village.
Okay,
So we are asking the state of Ohio, through non-taxpayer dollars, through bonded funds, for $500,000 that would be administered through the Department of Natural Resources, who have no match requirements. So this would be free money, as long as it is open and accessible to and by the public. And use these for trail improvements, and trail improvements could be sidewalks around the schools, could be Jordan Park Lane connector, could be repaving the existing trails, expanding upon them,
Could be a new pathway.
could be, in fact, portions of all of those. But by going through Department of Natural Resources, there's no match, and so that's, fingers crossed. I know that our state representative followed up with me more than I thought she would, so I think we might be her favorite project, so that's a good sign. So that's a hurry up and wait, and like
Any
I said,
idea of like 1 month, 6 months, 8 months?
so it will be passed into law by July 1st.
Okay,
In a typical year, where legislators already knew what district they would be running in,
right,
the bill would be out of a chamber by now, it would be halfway through the process.
but,
Not quite there yet.
This time around, no, and they've already, usually they do the appropriations and the reappropriations in the same bill.
Right.
So let's do all the money that, you know,
Right.
people haven't spent yet, plus all the new money. Well, they've already passed the reappropriations because,
no idea, okay.
yeah, they don't know. They like to use this process to get reelected and nobody knows where they're running.
Right.
So, what it does look like is that Minerva Park will have a person who has never been a legislator before, right? We've been drawn out of every existing district.
Nobody wants us.
But, well, and Worthington's in a similar boat, actually. But our legislators are committed to,
Right.
you know, for now, we represent Minerva Park and will continue to until we don't. And they work really well with the Franklin County delegation, and so there are members on both sides of the aisle who are sitting down right now probably discussing our project. And if the Republicans from Franklin County, you know, are in agreement that this is a good project, then all the legislators from Franklin County, Republican and Democrat, are gonna pull for our project, so that's, now, we asked for $500,000. It could be 50,000 or nothing.
Right.
But when it's free money, it's free money.
Yeah,
And-
ask
As
for,
much as you
ask for
can.
the world.
Yeah,
to-
and if it's enough to repave 8 feet of the walking path, then that's
Why
8
not?
feet that we didn't have repaved.
Right.
So, that's where we are with that.
so how was the amount come up with?
I thought that would be a nice amount.
It was a
You
nice
came up with
amount.
it? Let's just do a nice half.
So, I mean, yeah, I do this for, you know,
Work.
for my employer for a living, and there are amounts that are reasonable and amounts that aren't, and I thought $500,000 is ambitious. If we would've asked for $1 million, it would've been like, come on, guys, you're Minerva Park, you've got, you know, what, 1,200 residents. But $500,000 was I said, ambitious, and if and when they cut that in half, I think I'll still be, we should still
Oh,
be
yeah.
thrilled.
Sure.
And is there a time frame that we have to use it if we get it?
It'll be a 2-year cycle again,
Okay,
unless we get it reappropriated like
okay.
this project.
Do you have to like have justification quotes or anything just to ask for this money, or you just simply just
Not
throw out a number?
necessarily.
and
So,
say-
so what this is the state issues every 2 years in a non-budget year, they issue bonds.
Right,
State issues bonds to be used for brick and mortar improvements, capital improvements to, state facilities. So a big chunk of it goes to higher education facilities. Sometimes a small chunk goes to K-12 facilities, but they've got their own funding mechanism. And then they do what's called the community pot. And so that's just for projects that enhance communities throughout the state. And so, usually Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati get a lot. And other areas get smaller amounts, but I mean, everything from, the amphitheater to a local stage, and, they can be funded through the Historical Society, Department of Natural Resources, Cultural Facilities Commission, Ohio Arts Council, all sorts of different funding entities that all have their own kind of hoops that have to be jumped through.
gotcha.
So this is again, it's not taxpayer dollars, it's bonded funds, so it's not like if we don't do this project, we don't have to pay more in taxes. But it is free money to improve upon communities. And like I said, there are strings attached, like for Department of Natural Resources, it has to be open to the public, so we couldn't try and fund the community building and then only let community residents,
Right.
access it. So that was our thought, was to try and do something with as few parameters as possible and as little match as possible and see if we can't
Sounds good.
do something.
That would be amazing.
$500,000 would be amazing. I would be
100
amazed.
grand would be amazing, I mean,
Yeah.
we just did that whole walkway right there for 15,000
Yeah.
and, I mean, there's gonna be some spots over, I can already, cause I walk it all the time, I can already see a couple spots that are in need of,
And yeah, I
Wanting to
mean,
be in need of
it's
attention
totally
over
wide open, so like,
Yeah.
if we needed to do things to access the hidden pond, or, like there's,
500,000 would do all of the above, that's
Yeah.
what would be really nice.
yeah, so there's all sorts of, and then of course, I will be cheerleading very hard for a Jordan Park Lane connector.
That would be nice.
That was new business and old business, does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
On old business, the pond naming. So we named the pond, but we don't have a
Let's
document.
publicize it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
We don't have a document or anything saying what the names were,
That's true.
so.
And I think we decided did we decide that council didn't need to take action on that?
Correct.
Or is it
That is
true
a-
that council doesn't need to
No,
take
council does not
action?
need to take action on that.
Okay.
You can name the ponds until such time that council feels that they need to make a resolution to rename the ponds.
Okay.
So, so
Okay.
we will put them into some map document, we can
Just
just,
like I
yeah.
was just thinking a PDF or something with the.
Does anyone recall, cause I'll have to go back and, we'll.
What the names are,
Yeah,
one was a
I'll do-
lily pond,
I
one
The
was
know
the
that-
lily
hidden
pond is the
pond.
lily pond, the
We
hidden pond is
have
the
something
hidden
somewhere
pond.
for it, right? I just need a minute.
Then there's
to
Quiet
get
Brook
it.
Pond and there's Black Sycamore
I'm
Pond.
seeing if this is that.
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
it, then I'll photo
I
it.
might have to go.
We could
through.
rethink those though.
Cool, if you wanna resend it to me, then I'll put it on a new map.
I was all for
They're not
creative
very
names, and folks
creative.
said, let's just name them to the street
Yeah.
they're closest to.
That just helps you identify them.
And yeah, I don't disagree
Yeah.
with it, but.
Yeah, it's not on that one, I thought it was.
Posted on like Google Maps too or something?
Eddie, I think, tried to
I tried looking for
geotag
that.
them on,
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't
Google
see
Maps,
that.
but I'm not
We'll
sure.
go back and find where that happened, and if, I mean, obviously Beth, if you find it, someone's fine to send it to me, but we'll hunt it down.
What the names were?
Just to confirm before we make a.
yeah,
Just what-
Oh,
yeah.
Just
you
what
already
Brady
know?
said.
Yeah, Lily Pond is the lily pond,
I didn't hear
the
that.
hidden pond is the hidden pond.
We know that.
Black Sycamore Pond is the one on Black Sycamore.
Okay.
And Quiet Brook Pond is the one on Quiet Brook.
Okay. I didn't know that we made them that
Or should
simple.
we say Sycamore Pond and not Black Sycamore Pond?
I
Black Sycamore.
If you wanna, let's put it on the map and you can reponder it and change them anytime you wanna, think
had
wants
my
to
own,
do
yeah,
that.
I had my own thoughts on names, but
And it was.
What were they?
Quiet Brook
I
or
don't
Quiet?
remember anymore, cause they must not have been that good.
Yeah, I think I had some too.
Yeah,
And
the street name's quite Vale.
Quiet Vale.
Yeah.
Quiet Brookvale, right?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think so.
Cool.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's been bugging me. And Brian calls them A, B, C, and D, which is really bothersome to me.
Yeah, I call it the lily pond, I only call it the lily
Yeah,
pond, so.
he might actually call the lily pond the lily
Yeah,
pond,
I'm
but I
working
think
on
the
it.
rest
I'm
are.
working on it. It's a lily pond.
Yeah.
Well, and as the weather gets nice again, we'll have more field trips like we did last year and go see what else we can name and fun things we can do.
We're shipping.
Go out, just name things.
I love field trips.
We only have so many powers, right? If naming things is one of them, let's name everything.
Yeah, we call it the Minerva Park Pool, what can we call it? Just saying.
All right,
The other question, so last time we talked about the tree right away, so is that just being rolled into the new rewrite, or is there other?
so
There's a
yeah,
whole section on trees, and so you can discuss at that time the
Okay.
differentiation between
Okay,
trees in the new section and trees in the old section that are within the right of way.
okay.
yeah, my thought was, because there were questions about it, but I thought that would be a good primer for us to figure out what it all means before we have to start trying to figure out
Those are the
how we wanna
details.
change it or if we wanna change things.
That's going into care of the
Potentially.
Yes,
trees?
yes, care of street trees versus trees in the right of way,
Okay.
Yeah.
and who's in charge for maintenance, removal, and replanting.
There are some that are kinda needing it over there.
Relative to the trees in front of, say, like Hawthorne that were cut down recently, I know that they're widening the street there, I think,
Correct.
is that what I heard?
That's
Is there
correct.
a plan to?
They'll be
plant new
part,
ones?
they'll have to plant new ones when they completed the construction.
Understood.
I wish they would have offered those to us.
I wish they would have too, I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes construction guys just follow their plan and off they go.
maybe it's a
I
liability.
mean, they have to replace, I don't know.
No, I think
It's
it's
just-
too much of a hassle.
Yeah, it's easier just to chop them
They
down.
just go and do their
Yeah.
That's
thing.
why they do it.
That's unfortunate.
That was, well, it was just dumb to put them in and then cut them down.
Yeah,
They didn't-
huge waste.
I don't think they realized.
Yeah, they did not realize that they were gonna have to widen the street and change it all around.
Is that the only section that's getting wide? Is it just between Minerva Lake and?
Correct, because there's, after that middle school goes in, after the traffic review by our engineer and council and this body, we made it pretty clear that they're gonna have to do something out there. Because there's already a hot mess express with Hawthorne as it is. So, the middle school would have been a disaster in the making, and we can see that, right? It's not, don't need a traffic study to see that we need to make improvements out there,
Yeah.
so.
Anytime you have a school like that, I mean, there's gonna be traffic, I mean, there's.
Yeah, so there's a better way to handle the maneuvering of the traffic flow, and I think we've got it, so best as we can do it.
Yeah.
Any further business? We are adjourned. Look at that, under an hour. And we did stuff.
What is it?
It is, Terry joins and see what happens.
May
7 by 1?
7 PM is the next,
May
May
4th.
4th.
May 4th.
Don't even know what I just said.
Just trying to put us on
So there's
a,
not one to 60.
what is that?
We're not gonna meet on
Yeah,
the,
we're not doing that Saturday.
I am not, well, no, because I won't be here.
yeah, we're not gonna meet on the 20th,
One of his questions.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down.
because we're given time for the review to get put together, sent out to everybody, and then, like I said, we've got the variance at the meeting. Yeah, so